Just days before 2016, the biggest issue going into the presidential election is terror. Just this week, we learned U.S.-led airstrikes have killed 10 ISIS leaders, but is this enough? And what would a President Ben Carson do to take out terror? Dr. Ben Carson goes on the record live from Palm Beach, Florida. Sir, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
A pleasure. Thank you.
So a lot of pundits have said that after Paris and San Bernardino, terror has really become the #1 issue with voters out there, and that has hurt you. And what you need to do is stand up and take a very tough stand on terror and really let people know where you stand. What could you do about that? What would you say?
Well, first of all, I have been talking about it quite substantially, and I'm happy that now maybe people will listen to what I've been saying for quite some time. I think, first of all, we need to declare war on the Islamic State. This is a serious issue, and that way the people who aid and abet them will be traitors. I think people will think twice about it at that point. I think we also need to establish a leadership position with the coalition that we're calling for, not leading from behind, but leading from the front in every way, because I think many of the Islamic states down there are a little bit concerned about whether we will stick with them when things get hairy.
Does that include boots on the ground, sir?
It would include boots on the ground if necessary. But the way you determine whether boots on the ground are necessary is by defining your goals and then talking to your military experts and asking them what do they need in order to accomplish that goal. That's the logical way to do it. And also, there are a lot of available boots to us. Remember, there are hundreds of thousands of young Syrian men in Saudi Arabia and, throughout the whole region. We need to get them involved, get them recruited, get them trained. In the Jordanian refugee camps, there are Syrian men. All of those have to be done. But in addition to that, recognize that they gain their legitimacy by having a caliphate. We need to take that from them, as I've been saying for more than a year. They're the richest terrorist organization there is. Why? Because of oil revenues. Do not allow that to happen. Shut down their monetary mechanisms. And we have to have a global strategy. They're just going to shift from one place to another.
Okay.
Believe me, they're going to shift over to Libya now because we're concentrating on Iraq.
Yeah, let me drill down on some of the details that you put out there. I mean, you say that we have to take the caliphate away from them. If that is your objective, you said define an objective. Surely you have already talked to military leaders and military professionals around, so you must have some idea if in order to take the caliphate away from them, we have to put our own forces on the ground. It sounds to me like you're reluctant to put U.S. forces on the ground.
I'm not sure why it sounds that way, but
okay,
let me just tell you.
Prove me wrong then. Do you feel like you need to, given if you want to take the caliphate away from them?
We took Sinjar away from them just a month ago, utilizing Kurds and our special ops people. Now, recognize our special ops people are boots on the ground. Some people are reluctant to call them that, but that's what they are. And it worked very effectively with our air support coming behind them. And, Fallujah recently, but, it's Ramadi, rather, recently. And you look at all the possibilities, Raqqa, Mosul, by using those same techniques. But if, in fact, we do need to use our troops in larger numbers, I would use them, because what you have to recognize is that if we don't recognize the seriousness of this situation, they're just going to continue to grow, multiply, become much more powerful, and eventually we will be fighting them over here. So their boots will be on our ground.
You say that you've had this message out there for a while, and I have heard your 7-point plan before. Why do you think it is that you have been slipping in the polls then, if you're putting this message out there? And what are you going to do about it? I mean, we've heard word that you're shaking up your campaign staff. Is that true? Can you give us any details on that?
There will be some changes made so that the campaign is more consistent with me, with the way that I am, which is not, confrontational and, attacking other people, but who does put out the truth and is transparent and is reasonable to people. We want to make sure that that's known. But also, I need people to understand, and I am talking about it, that toughness is not dictated by how loudly you say something. Toughness is dictated by what you have achieved in your life. And, just as an example, You know, the highest honor that a university gives out is an honorary doctorate degree. Now, you know, they don't give those to weak people or people who are not people of accomplishment. I have 67. I suspect if you added up all the honorary degrees of everybody else running, it would not even come close to that. That's just one example. You know, the Library of Congress chose me as a living legend. So, you know, I don't generally talk about that kind of stuff because it's difficult for me to do that. But I want people to actually start listening. If you listen carefully to what I'm saying, it's the very same thing that everybody else is picking up on. And don't think for 1 minute that just because I'm a nice person that I wouldn't do everything that was necessary to take care of the people of our country.
Yes. Dr. Carson, I've met you many times. You are a nice person. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. We appreciate it. You can say that for sure.
All right. Pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
And Donald